ought to know. Well, now you ought to know by now. You ought to know. Well, now you ought to know by now.
Hello, Miss Eileen. How are you?
Hi, Topher. I'm good. I'm happy to be here chatting with you.
Yes, Eileen McKusick for everybody. She is the incomparable biotuner extraordinaire. You made me very jelly the other week. You go and fly and see your new friend Chris Crutchfield and Sabrina. And you never, like, I never get any, like, hey, Topher. It's just like, oh, I'm going to go talk to all your besties and
Without you.
send me photos, and I'm just left wanting, deeply wanting.
Well, we have that opportunity coming up for us all to be together. So,
Yes, absolutely. I hop into things. I am like all gas, no brakes with this. Um, since you've come across Sabrina's work, okay, for everybody out there, let me like kind of just frame things. Sabrina Wallace, she's been showing over the last 3 years essentially the hardscaped, hardwired tech that is out there that Eileen has been teaching us all for years and years and years is our natural aura. Like that's our biofield anatomy. And she's been able to show that a lot of the tech that is out there is actually using this biofield anatomy that you've gone to painstaking degrees to actually like show how we can heal, how we can, gain coherence and all the rest of it. And now she's showing us the weapons because I look at a lot of these things as weapons. She's showing us the weapons that are like taking dead aim at this biofield anatomy that you fought so hard just to bring back into the modern lexicon. So I'd love to know like how your guys' first meeting went and like how when you came together, like how were you able to bridge that gap?
well, did you watch
I
our
did.
conversation? You did.
I
Yeah.
did.
So, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, it's on my YouTube channel, my conversation with Sabrina. And we kind of have arrived in this to the same conclusions,
Mm-hmm.
which is you have to keep your own signal clear and strong and coherent and grounded and connected, right? Because to me, I tune into the God channel, I tune into the Earth channel, I tune into the monks broadcasting channels. Um, and when we do that, when we tap into that larger signal of nature, then we can draw strength from it. We can draw coherence
Mm-hmm.
from it. And so yeah, not fear based in any way, but really kind of more solution oriented.
That's beautiful. And you've always been solution oriented. I've
Yeah.
now had, you work on me, a couple of your practitioners work on me, and it had like immediate effects. And I would bug you with messages telling you about how things were unwinding and things like that. So I've always been open to the more subtle energetic anatomies. Like when I was growing up, my dad was teaching my sisters and I how to like envision colors that the other one was thinking, so like a form of telepathy, like how to like feel without touching. Like that was something that like was encouraged in my household. So I've always
That's really cool that you had parents like that. I know My mom was she was into Edgar Casey.
Yes.
And so, so I got exposed to that sort of thing, sort of alternative thinking also
Hmm.
from the get-go, which was helpful.
That's brilliant. So you've been able to essentially systematize a way of healing for people where, whether the practitioner is right in front of them or remotely, they can essentially tune into that person's biofield anatomy and find, past traumas or, misheld beliefs that are occurring right now. And through tuning forks, be able to kind of like actually tune in to these different areas of density or I guess you'd say incoherence. And how about you explain to people that aren't actually aware, how can this actually do work at a distance?
I don't know. When people ask me that, one of the things that I like to say is, have you ever suddenly gotten the feeling of a loved one, like you've just caught their vibe? All of a sudden you just feel it. And then like they call or you get a text from them. Like,
Yes.
like everybody's had that experience, right?
Hmm.
Okay. How does that work? We all accept that that works.
Transverse waves,
Like,
the scalar domain.
scalar domain. I mean, it's all from my cosmological perspective, it's all one unified field, and that we can connect via resonance. Like if you have a room full of 12 guitars and they're all tuned the same way, you just pluck one string and then all those other ones will respond, right, without being touched. So
Hmm.
it's sort of like a non-local activation. Um, so through resonance, through the ether, through the understanding that it's all one field. It's just like I can go on the internet and like find a website, or you and I can like co-edit a Google Doc,
Hmm.
because of the connection of the World Wide Web. It's the same thing. Like I can connect through the unified field to the document that is you, and we
Hmm.
can edit it together in real time.
So
um
is this unified field pointing, like the unified field to me in like I love this topic because I've been a geek with sympathetic vibratory physics for quite a while now, and the notion at work being done at a distance implies in some ways that there is no distance, and um, I've noticed that with loved ones in my life or people I've really cared for. Telepathy is much easier with them. It's like there's like this, it's almost like the love acts as like the clearing of any noise or the shrinking of the distance between the two, if that makes any difference.
yeah, I think definitely it's also familiarity, with the patterning.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a period a few years ago where my husband and both of my sons were out of phones for different reasons. And we just kind of pinged each other and still
Mm-hmm.
managed to coordinate and connect.
Yeah.
And I'm here in Jamaica where island time is really a thing. You can just think that you need to see someone and walk out the end of your driveway and they just happen to be going by.
Yes.
So we're connected and we know we're connected,
Mm-hmm.
and that the distance doesn't matter.
That's wonderful. So I still want to kind of look at this whole notion of the hard wiring of this tech that is pretty much in one way just a commerce system that's coming on board. A lot of this has a lot to do with coherence and willpower from my perspective. If somebody has sufficient willpower, they will gain enough coherence to be able to be resilient against anything, right? This is like every warrior story that's ever been out there. But a lot of the tech is clandestine. A lot of the tech that's out there, people aren't actually conscious of. And so I'm wondering, in your perspective, because you get to feel and you get to work with people that, feel more people and like get to like actually, observe and things like that. To what extent do you think this rollout of all this like W band, Mac hardware stuff, to what extent do you think that actually kind of impedes on people's free will?
It does appear that they can use the technology to sort of hijack and manipulate people's minds and thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and feelings. Um, there appear to be sort of different signal jammers that disconnect people through their crown.
Mm-hmm.
I've really noticed a sort of degradation in the quality of the crown center and our connection
Mm-hmm.
to the cosmos. Um, since there's been a lot of satellites allegedly
Mm-hmm.
and just towers, um, people have a lot of noise in their signals.
Right.
That to have a clear signal really does, like you said, require a really strong will. Like you have to be really determined
Mm-hmm.
to figure out how to maintain your sovereignty and agency
Mm-hmm.
as a non manipulated node in their net.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I've been. I'm just gonna like go ahead and share with everybody like what I've been working on as like a life, as a, I would say in my adult years, like my life purpose. And I want to hear your opinion on it because you just said the appropriate word. You said the word noise. Um, I have a really good friend who's in this shamanic lineage that uses plant medicines. And after one of the retreats that he was giving, we were all out by the river and he got this full like download. And he turned to me and I was downstream in the river and like we made eye contact and he looked extremely serious and he's like, we need to find caves. And when he said that to me, like I hit like totally, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he started to describe what he was seeing, and he saw this like the essentially at the time this is like on YouTube and stuff like that. People were talking about the EMPCO and plasma apocalypse and all this type of stuff. So that was my bias. That's where my mind went with it. But what he was describing was he just saw sheets of light coming down in that we had to get extremely healthy and that we had to come in agreement with our land and actually create like these silent bubbles. And he didn't know what it like when it was coming through him. He didn't know exactly what it was. But since then, over the last 8 or 9 years, he's been getting more and more information on what that was, and it's kind of cool. He and I have always been parallel. I've been like the tech guy, and he's been like the the guy that's like reaching into the beyond type thing. And I was starting making biochar and like doing the whole agriculture thing with biochar and the rest of it. And it wasn't until this year, and you're going to appreciate this, I hope. I had the biochar actually looked at by Dr. Mars El Arce, and she saw that it had all these microzyma in it. And what was crazy in the videos that she sent me was it looked like when you looked at the biochar, it looked like it was the night sky. And then immediately when I saw that, I thought of Kevin when he was saying like we have to be the bridge that connects Father Sky to Mother Earth. And so I saw, oh, okay, the biochar is actually like putting the sky, it's putting the patterning, the positive patterning aspect, and it's actually putting it into the earth. And he's since then has like been shown this geometry of how to put that on our land in a specific way in which we create these like silent pillars. And one of our fellow speakers at I call it the eggs at the Elementals Gathering, Chris Winters, you're gonna love this guy. I can't wait for you and Chris to meet because he's like a incredible qigong expert. Like I could just see you guys moving in unison. I was explaining this to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's gonna create a isotropic field of silence." And so this like totally dovetails with what you're speaking about with like, there's all this noise from what's coming above us. And that's exactly what I saw. Like I was just seeing like Kevin, like he and I have a very interesting psychic connection that way. But I saw this stuff that was falling, and it is like a noise. It's a pattern of noise. So like the putting these pillars in the ground, creating this isotropic bubble of silence, is it allows for that which is within that bubble to kind of be clean and be without interference and have more coherence with the real patterning, maybe from like that which is outside the envelope. So I kind of wanted to share that with you and see what you thought.
Yeah. I mean, the intentional creation of space, our minds
Mm-hmm.
are so powerful. And when you combine the power of your own mind, the intention, and then with the actual structure, substance
Mm-hmm.
that has that inclination. Um, yeah. I mean, so much of it really, Topher, I've come to see is mind.
Yes.
You know, it's really where my work has led me, is what can I accomplish with my own mind? Because I think we've been so programmed to outsource our power, outsource our health, outsource our agency, and yet we have the human mind is so freaking amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and the power of attention and intention and will, and that the clearer your and stronger your own signal, obviously the more powerfully you can use your mind. And I don't, I'm not a fan of devices. I don't take any supplements. um I think that even the pillar, that space of quiet, can be created just within our own biofield,
Mm-hmm.
right? But most people have so much noise in the signal from trauma, from school, from all the chemicals in the environment,
Mm-hmm.
that it's almost like you need training wheels. Like for me, the tuning forks were like training wheels to get, and many
Mm-hmm.
years, decades, to get to the place of like actually seeing the power of my own mind and gaining enough coherence and clarity, to be able to sort of start to understand
Mm-hmm.
what they really try to keep hidden from us, which is the amazingness and brilliance that's inherent in the human hardware.
So for you, you're now a singing extraordinaire. You're a vocal artist, right? And that's how you find joy and coherence and essentially breaking whatever binds would be thrown on you.
Yeah, well, our human voice is really the best tool, right? Because you've got it everywhere you go. Not only what you say, but how you move sound around your body and use your own voice. That's what the work that I do with Sing the Body Electric is, this system of 42 different tones that resonate in specific areas of the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you move your mind, your attention to your large intestine or your small intestine or your kidneys or your lungs, and you sound from there, you are essentially, giving yourself a sonic massage from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we have an album actually coming out a week from tomorrow, which I'm super excited about.
Beautiful. When you say we, who is we?
So myself and these two Australian brothers named Isaac and Torald Corn,
Mm-hmm.
and we started working together back in 2019 because I had this terror of singing in front of people,
Mm-hmm.
like a very irrational terror, one of those like lifetimes burned at the stake kind of terrors.
Mm-hmm.
But also being the youngest of six and suffering a lot of
Abuse. Let's just say
torture.
it. Abuse.
Yeah, yeah. And so we they were going to help me to write and record a couple songs and just kind of get me over my irrational terror, because I could speak in front of people no problem, like I don't even get nervous, but the singing thing was really terrifying, terrible, terribly terrifying. And I don't like living with fears, right? I think you're the same way. Like
Mhm.
if I'm afraid of something, I really want to go and like grab that bull by the horns and wrestle it to the ground. And so that's what I was attempting to do with them. But what ended up happening was we ended up taking this completely unexpected diversion into these discovering, um, like creating really, or really remembering, because that's kind of how it felt like when I first met them. There's this instant recognition kind of feeling, and as this body of work started to come through us, it felt like we were remembering it from, a
Mm.
past life that we kind of associated to be kind of Egypt like. um and there, it's not based in any system that exists. Like there are a number of different systems that assign tones to different parts of the body.
Mhm.
This just came from us and consensus. We'd be sitting around in a coffee shop and like, let's figure out, what the sound of the ovaries. And I couldn't do that with them. I had to do that with the girls.
I don't know. I can admit I don't know.
um, yeah, and so this whole system of 42 sounds and turned into a workshop that we call Sing the Body Electric. And then what ended up kind of also getting created through us is these songs made of tones,
Mm.
right? Because what I found is that it's not that hard for most people to tone. You and I can sit around and be like, yeah, and
Mhm.
it's not so hard, right? But to go from feeling comfortable toning to feeling comfortable singing a song is kind of a big jump.
It's huge.
And so, yeah. And so we created these songs of tones that are like half step. It's like a half step in
Mhm.
between, and we call them healing tonics. And so they don't have words, but they do, but every sound resonates in a particular body part, which has meaning that we relate to the biofield anatomy.
Mhm.
So basically, what they are is an opportunity to express yourself, to express emotion. Like on this album, we have releasing fear, transmuting pain, sacred rage, which is just like almost like primal screaming, embodiment, like all of these different simple ones, and they're anywhere from 4 to 8 tones, in each song, and we sing them over and over again. We tone them out, and then we sing the melody.
Mhm.
And we this is our second album actually. We created a first one that was more for our students to hear all of the different tones, and it had some tonics on it. But after I listened to it, I was like, this is really sounds kind of new agey, and I actually like rock and roll. So our next one needs to be more rockin'.
Mhm.
And so it is. So it's called Rock Mantras. And it's got like electric guitar, bass, drums, It's really actually it's like a whole new genre um
Mhm.
of healing music that's actually gritty.
Awesome. I can't wait to hear that. Because
Yeah.
there's been some rock, like there's certain notes, like one of my favorite vocal artists of all time was Chris Cornell. And like, he used to sing some incredible rock songs, and like just my own body trying to hit those, like I could never hit a Chris Cornell note, high note.
No.
But like it still was so invigorating and like my system clearing. Like I'm excited for you with
Yeah.
this.
It's very invigorating. It's very, very vitalizing. Now, this
Yes.
is one of the biggest reasons we do this. Most of the sounds are like baby sounds. They're like goo, ga, gi, da, pa, wa, ma, do. Like they're really simple root sounds. And it's bad enough that I like wave tuning forks around. Now I'm like, and now we're making baby sounds.
Hmm.
But I wouldn't do any of these things if I didn't really observe a clear benefit from putting my time and attention there. And I've been astonished, quite frankly, at how vitalizing seeing these tones
Hmm.
makes all of us. Like you get high off of
Back in my ashram days, we had hosted where I'm forgetting the terms for all this. They were like Tibetan monks, and they had this toning thing that they would do, and it was really fun to do. It was one of those things, like I've never had confidence in well, I did have confidence in singing until puberty, and then puberty struck, and I had one of those seminal moments that you have in life of embarrassment. And I got a vasana, like that's what they call it in the yoga space, like where you have a conditioned tendency, and it was literally like I had a hook being pulled, through my neck. And ever since then, I've been conscious of it. Like I've been able to be aware of that and feel it. And in like my deepest meditations, that's the vasana that like holds me in, or at least the one that I'm aware of, that like actually holds me in form. And I've been super conscious of that forever. So I do have some fifth chakra, throat things to work through. And
Yeah. Well,
I happen to marry such a beautiful vocalist that she can sing anything. So
no. Well, we often want, our attracted people who have what we don't, and we'd like to have. Um, the Most people have throat trauma. I mean, there's been so many reasons why people have been silenced and don't feel comfortable emoting in
mm-hmm.
front of other people. It's very vulnerable. And there's been sort of no end of ways we've been told to sit down and shut up.
Right.
Even meditation is more sitting down and shutting up.
Mm-hmm.
And what I observe in the biofield is that people are full of trapped sound. They're full of sounds they haven't made, words they haven't spoken, tears they haven't shed, pain they haven't expressed, and it just all ends up in the body as tension and compression.
Mm-hmm.
And so, giving people the opportunity to actually be free to emote without having to put words to it is incredibly liberating. Like people come to our workshops, thinking that they're improving their singing voice, but then they go home and they start speaking their boundaries better and being more clear manifestors and
Mm-hmm.
not putting up with things that they previously put up with. When we suppress our voice, we often endure things that we wouldn't otherwise if we felt free in our voice to really express our authentic self. And I think that that's really where health lies, is feeling free to express your authentic self.
Mm-hmm. I could totally see that. I actually had that direct experience of a family member over this last year. I go see them every year during the winter time to kind of give us a break from the cold. Uh, my family does the tropical thing like yours does. And, I got to see this year that family member was clearly emoting, or in a more clear manner. She was expressing herself and her boundaries. And it was just so great because the year before, for whatever reason, that wasn't occurring. And I mean, she might have well have just been an amoeba on the ground, like she was just being run over. And I was really sad about it. Like I was just like, I felt so much sadness in seeing this like strong minded being like that. And this year, like her power was back. And it made me so happy to see that. I got excited, and you could see the vitality and the vivaciousness in her whole being. And it was directly correlated to her voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we see this a lot everywhere. It's
Mm-hmm.
by our word we create our life.
Mm-hmm.
And if you aren't free to use your word in the way that you feel inwardly directed to, then you're failing to create the life that you could be.
Yes, this is so true. So there's something I've seen that's really interesting. Early in my prayer life, I would just say it internally. And I was talking to a mentor of mine, and I told him I was just like doing it internally. And he's like, no, you have to say it out loud. And I felt a little bit embarrassed. I was like, what? He's like, no, when you look in scripture, the people, it's very rare to actually have a voice to say something, to be embodied and actually have a voice to speak out loud. If you see like the demons don't have that ability, a lot of the disembodied spirits don't have that ability. They're all doing everything through telepathy. But to actually be able to use a voice, it carries so much power. And I thought it was kind of hokey when he said that. And then I started to pray out loud, and it had like such a great effect. It was so much more powerful than when I was just doing it internally.
Yeah, definitely. Well, our voices are electromagnetic, and they shape and inform the
Mm-hmm.
plasma that we speak into.
Mm-hmm.
And we know from cymatics that sound creates patterns.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're just thinking that, it does too, but not nearly to the same magnitude.
Right. Yeah, I have a problem in my life. If I ever draw anything, I end up having to build it. So
Yeah.
I'm very careful with drawing things these days because I'm just like, oh, more construction. What a pain in the ass. So we're having the Elementals gathering in Missouri, which you and your hubby are coming to, right?
I don't think my hubby's coming. No.
Pansy.
I know everyone wants to meet him. They're like, "Who's this mysterious husband of Eileen's?" But that every time I try to bring him to something, afterwards I'm like, I just shouldn't have done that. So I'm giving up even thinking about bringing him to anything.
Okay.
And so guys will probably never meet him. It will remain a mystery.
Well, I just want to give you a big hug. So like he would have just been a bonus. I think most of us like, because for me, ever since first hearing your voice, by the way, I was like, oh, that's somebody I want to meet. Like I was just like that whatever that connection was, because you have your tone. It's not just your tonality, but there's like I was like, oh yeah, there's a there. Um, so I'm just excited to meet you. It's always fun to see people's spouses. Like I always like to see like who people couple with, because that's just like one of my uh, because I do so much body work on couples and things like that, and I get to see like how the bodies interact with each other a lot of the ways. For me, I just like to see how the Legos fit together.
I get that.
Yeah. So we're having our elementals gathering, and when I think of you, I think of, because you're dealing so much with vibration, I think you would be really one to talk about the air or the ether element. Not that anybody is like, beholden to just one element, but like you kind of master the air and the ether element in my mind's eye. Um, would you mind sharing with people what you think you might be like, dipping your toes into at our gathering?
It's funny. I was thinking about that earlier today, and I was like, wow, I haven't even given that like a moment's thought
Mm-hmm.
yet, what I'm going to talk about there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because this album is coming out next week. Like that's been sort of
That's
my big thought.
right.
Um, but I have been talking about ether for a long time. I wrote about it in my master's thesis all the way back in 2011. That's how I got to know Brendan Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever had Brendan on your show,
I
but
haven't.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
his book, The Grand Illusion, was such a good book. I read it when I was working on my book, and but I was scouring the internet for information about ether, and I came across an article he had written,
Mm-hmm.
and then we became pen pals for a while. And he was actually the second person I ever did a distance session on, because the first one I did to California, and it worked, obviously, much to my amazement, because I didn't think it would. But then I reached out to Brendan, and I'm like, okay, I can do this between Vermont and California. Let me see if it works all the way to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and it did. Yeah. So that was through the ether,
Yes.
through the ether. And I prefer the term ether, the classical term. I know that I saw Nassim Haramein talking about the quantum vacuum, or the vacuum, which is essentially applying the same thing, the Higgs field. Right? There's a bunch of different names for it, but I like ether. That's what I've been using.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it makes sense. I mean, to me, ether theory is just really elegant. It's really simple, and it makes a lot of sense.
What
It
is ether
explains a
theory?
lot. What is ether?
What is ether theory? Yeah.
Well, there's different ways to phrase it, but it's essentially that it's a luminiferous ocean of clear light, that all movement arises in. It's dielectric. It
Mm-hmm.
polarizes into positive and negative charges, and the movement of those charges creates plasma and torsion. And basically everything is fundamentally sort of spun light. It's all
Mm-hmm.
just a weave in the larger material. Everything arises from the ether, everything falls back into the ether, and it records everything. So it's also what we would call the Akasha.
Mm-hmm.
It holds the record of everything that ever is, was, or will ever be.
Mm-hmm.
It contains geometry, right? The sort of patterns that matter gets built on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the light of life.
So did I ever tell you about my first experience with ayahuasca?
I don't know, Topher. Maybe. Tell me again.
It's very much on this ether tip. I was in this forest at about, I think we were right about 8,000 feet of elevation in this pristine area, the Talamancas in Costa Rica. And I was resistant to any gurus. I had done my guru phase. And I had a friend that was like, hey, you know, this is we'll treat this like a sacrament. You take it, you have to very clear intention, and let's see what happens. And so we were alone in the forest, and he went off to do his thing. I took it, and I was all alone. And I had this very incredible, like, interaction with what seemed to be like a feminine spirit. And when I knew it was fully on, I said to it, I said, look, I really don't want a guru. I'm tired of outsourcing my authority. If you can answer this question for me that I've always had, I'll listen to you. If not, I'm not interested. And she's like, okay, what's your question? And I said, in my field of vision, I see billions of pixels, and each one of the pixels are these little kaleidoscopes. And what I have to do for my vision to actually like be able to see clearly is my mind has to tell, like I have to tell my mind to like collapse the field so that the objects get fully solid. Because if I don't do that, then I see just like lots of pixels. Everything almost goes 2D. And I have very good, you know, depth perception and all these things, but there's work involved, because if I'm fully relaxed, those pixels all come to the forefront and they're just doing their thing. And I'm like, what are those pixels? And I said, I don't want to hear it's prana. I don't want to, like, I've heard all the BS from the different shysters. So what she does is she pulls one of the pixels towards me, and it sounds exactly what what you're describing as the ether theory. And then it's almost like my consciousness bilocated and went like, 90 degrees so I could see that. And that pixel that I was seeing was actually like a fiber optic cable of non-animated light. And then she's like, you're always moving through this three-dimensional tapestry of light, and your interaction with that tapestry determines what the light actually is. And there was nothing like hyper spiritual about it. It was just a very, very technical. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like exactly what you're talking about with the ether theory.
Yeah. The physics of the realm.
Yeah. And I literally called Mama Ayahuasca. I called her my science advisor.
Nice.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So, and that's kind of cool too, because like under being with that plant medicine, there was like your visual acuity, I think, triples. So you have the ability to really perceive frequency ranges that are not necessarily always, available to the normal, to the normal.
Yeah,
being.
which leads to insight, that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Another thing too was on ayahuasca, I could actually sing.
Interesting.
Because what I notice is like part of my problem when I'm singing, when I'm not inebriated or whatever, is that I can hear too much. I don't know if you've ever had the thing like when in exercising, like if you've ever like done any like really rigorous running or anything like that. If I can hear myself breathing, I can't go that far because my mind starts to think about the breathing. But if I'm listening, if I have like really good headphones on and I'm jamming out and I don't hear my breathing, I can just go. It's
Hmm.
something weird in my system, like when I can hear, like when in singing, because I'm like I'm almost mishearing. I'm not able to like match the pitches that are needed. Whereas with ayahuasca, because I could hear so much better and almost like without any noise, it was just like boom, I felt like I could sing really well. Who knows if I was? So that's really awesome. Well, I'm glad that I put you on the spot asking you what you might, or through what lens of element you might be like, looking at things for. I'm really excited for your release of your album.
Yeah,
That should,
thanks. I was just thinking that I am very much like a whole systems thinker. You know what I mean? And even though I might talk about ether maybe primarily, but there's only so much you can say about ether. Do you know what I mean? Like
mm,
it's like, okay, it's this next. So, um, but maybe about all of them to some degree or another and how they relate to our bodies and health, and maybe even give them some sounds for people to play with.
mm-hmm,
Some sounds that resonate, the earthiness in you and the fire in you and the water in you, air,
mm-hmm.
all that.
That's
So,
that's actually how I actually see ether. Ether is the primordial substance, so all the elements are contained within it.
yeah, exactly. Everything, it just gets denser and denser, but
Exactly.
ultimately it's all ether. And so, yeah, so therefore it would make sense to
Mm-hmm.
contemplate them all
Yeah,
as ether.
and I somehow, some way, I feel like the emotion of love, like when you truly do love somebody, I don't think it's ever a one-way street. And I might be in the minority with that, but like when there's love, there's always a reciprocation. It doesn't have to be equal reciprocation. You and I have already covered at length syntropy, the dynamic disequilibrium with reciprocity sometimes. But like there's always a loop current. That's the way it was taught to me in polarity therapy, is the loop current. And there's something, I wonder what ether's involvement with love is, because it's almost like love transcends space.
Hmm.
It's like I love the movie Interstellar because there's that, like, it's such a this like heart tugging movie about like transcending space and time with love, and to me there's a deep truth in there with that. But oh,
I think that's a really interesting question. I mean, I kind of have always moved with the assumption that the ground state of everything is love, and that when we don't have noise in our signal, then we participate in that, we flow in that geometry, and that what's the biggest problem is just the noise in the signal that leads to projection, to misperception, to false beliefs, to
mm-hmm.
stories that aren't true,
Right.
but that the fundamental ground state of potential is what we would call love.
Now I love you bringing up ground state. Now you're talking my language. So what does ground state mean to you? Because a lot of people aren't going to be like schooled in electrical systems.
I don't know, the fundamental nature.
Mm-hmm. So the way I've been speaking about ground to people is in the actual letting go of positive ionization from electrosmog, or when I'm building buildings, I have to like find ground to make sure that all the noise and the electrical circuitry ends up, dissipating into Big Mama, the Mother Earth. Um, that's the way I'm always talking about ground.
I think that I'm talking more about the sort of fundamental strata of reality. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just like what the words, we don't have the best words when we get into describing things like this,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I would just say very fundamentally the nature of reality to the best of our human perception. If we were to define it, that would feel like love. It's coherent.
Mm-hmm.
It's fundamentally harmonious.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily peaceful, but fundamentally harmonious.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's a brilliant lead-in to, the whole uh, the notions of harmonics, right? Because this is something that, as somebody I'm not trained musically in any way, but I have lots of friends that are, and talking about, whether you have resonance, whether you have dissonance, whether you have constructive interference or destructive interference. So what you just said right there is harmonious, but not necessarily peaceful. That's a brilliant, brilliant little like morsel there to kind of expound upon.
Well, I mean, just, looking out in life, it makes me think of lions chasing down prey.
Mm,
Like that's not a peaceful thing. It's not pretty. It involves blood and guts and suffering,
mm-hmm,
but it is built into the design of life,
mm-hmm.
that predators are necessary. Otherwise, we'd be overrun, right? If nothing ate rabbits, we'd be in trouble.
Right.
So, um, yeah. So I would say that it's not peaceful,
Mm-hmm,
but ultimately it's designed for balance, checks and balance and all working together as a functional whole.
mm-hmm. That's brilliant. Have you, getting back to how we started our conversation and kind of getting into the work of Chris and Sabrina, do you feel like that checks and balance system, where do you feel like the checks and balance system is at the moment?
Well, I think we're wildly out of balance, right? And just so heavily in the noise right now. Um, but I often think about cymatics, right? And
Mm-hmm.
cymatics being the study of sound made visible. And so if you take a plate and black metal plate and you put a speaker underneath it, you put sand or salt on it, and you broadcast a specific frequency, it forms a specific pattern. And then when that frequency changes, the pattern dissolves into apparent chaos. But then when the new frequency sort of sets, then you have this sort of spontaneous, coherent emergence that happens, and suddenly chaos resolves into a new and different order.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we're maybe in, the sort of dissolution of a particular pattern of human mind and being,
Mm-hmm.
and that a new one hasn't quite arisen yet. I was talking to somebody today just about how like the CIA are like such agents of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
and they seem like nefarious beings, but chaos is necessary to proceed in new order, and breakdown precedes breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
uh though in this world of contrast, it all happens for some reason or another, some necessity of some kind or another, so that we get to experience, what is it like when everything's coherent and groovy? What is it like when things are really chaotic and incoherent and uncertain?
That's a
um
that's incredible because a lot of my biochar business is literally like acceleration of the detritivore aspect of nature, like the breakdown, and we do that through heat. The heat creates pressure and causes, essentially ejection of volatiles, and then at the end you're left with like this like incredible carbon matrix, the womb, the carbon womb, and everything grows from it. Like it's literally it's in a way analogous to what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, it's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just as part of the cycle of life,
Mm.
and the cycle of the human story. So, does the suffering that's happening while it's going on suck? Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a big reason why I do what I do with tune forks, is because I observed early on that it helped relieve suffering for people. It helped them get out of pain or stuckness or anxiety or what have you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because every moment that people spend suffering with something like that, like it matters,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Definitely.
Um, yeah. And so, like most humans, I don't like to see suffering, but I also know, like on a fundamental level, pretty sure that this is not like the real reality.
Yes.
This is like kind of like a game we get to play. We get to put on a human suit. But the essence of who we are, I don't think can die.
Hmm. That's wonderful. Pretty much all the people in my life that don't have the fear of death, they all have your tone. It's like that. It's a really, it's a very specific vibration that I tune into, and I can say the opposite too. I could say the people that I know that are afraid of death, conversely, do not have your tone. So that's brilliant. That's very well said. Oh,
Got any other questions there? Did you lose me for a sec?
yeah, I did lose you for a second. All right. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay, speak. Let me see if you come
Okay,
through.
Topher, here I am.
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, good. Because sometimes in Jamaica, things are not reliable.
Mhm. Oh, I was over there in Central America. I know exactly what I know. I know what you're dealing with.
Did you ask me a question and I missed it?
I don't think I asked you a question. I was just
Okay.
making an observation. So,
Okay.
how much longer do I have you?
I have 8 minutes.
Okay, cool. So now that I put you on the spot, and I love the fact that that ether, because like I said, I see you ruling air and ether, like just essentially all that which holds vibration or that which distributes, compression and rarefaction. Um, to me, that's just so apropos for you, like for how at least I experience you. So I'm really looking forward to you, like maybe even if you feel so inclined at our little gathering to actually like lead us in like a toning or a sound making process. I think that'd be really wonderful.
Yeah, I will do that for sure. So we'll do some tuning forks and some sound and who knows what else.
Hmm. Now, you might know this or you might not know this, but I have our MC is also a fellow tuning forker, Chance
Is it
Garden.
chance?
It's
Is
Chance.
it nice?
And I'm putting you guys in the octopod. I have rebranded the octagon that they have in the UFC to the octopod, where all these people that are teachers and have audiences abroad and stuff like that, you fight to the death with your given talent. So like we'll have Chris Crutchfield because he's 6'7". He's gonna fight Owen Benjamin because he's 6'8", and they're just gonna use their leverages against each other. You
It should
and
be very entertaining.
yes,
No, wait, you can't put me up against Chance. He's like 6'4".
no, but you guys have to use your tuning forks. It's like Harry Potter with like the wizard wands. You're gonna see who can out tune the other one. You could just like ding ding, like see which frequency ranges, like see who gets healed the fastest, and then
Healing
and
competitions.
whoever heals slower. Oh look, Chance is he's pissed. He's in the chat. He's saying, "I have a bigger fork."
I know, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, he's got a bigger fork than
It's not the size of the fork. I swear it's not the size of the fork. Yeah, so that's you guys are going to be in the octopod. You're going to be fighting each other. Whoever heals the fastest will get to stay materialized. Whoever doesn't heal the fastest dematerializes into the ether.
Oh wow. What, do they rematerialize in like another
No,
octopod
they're
or something?
gone forever.
Gone. All right, Chance, you and me.
Forever. I figured that would be perfect. The perfect fight. Yeah, I'd love. Yeah, I'm gonna stick the Gnostics against each other. We're gonna have Matt Presti go against Marty Leeds.
Oh, Marty will be there.
Yeah.
This should be very entertaining. Is Andy Kaufman coming?
Yeah, Andy's. You act like you didn't know Andy's coming.
Well, it's a really interesting lineup, Tober, I have to say. For all you watching come nerd out with all of us, because it'll definitely be mind expanding and fun.
Well,
For
this whole
sure.
thing came up with Andy when I was out in New York doing the Biggleson. The Bigglesons had their thing in New York and the Terrainology conference. And I went there, and the producer and Andy were sitting there, and the producer was like, "You got to have your own thing." And I was like, "Cool. I've never done this before. I've built for many a festival, but I've never like, had a festival." And so I just went ahead and just called like the first, 16, 17 people that I thought of, and all of you guys said yes.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, oh, there's a lot of goodwill out there. This is wonderful. So I'm really excited about it. And I'm really looking forward to like just having the hangout sessions, when people are like not on the main stage and we're all just geeking, talking about the little season or whatever. Um, just nerding hard, because that's really
Yeah.
the juice for me. Like yeah, everybody I've ever had on my podcast I've actually published and put out there. I like really, really appreciate what you've brought to the greater mind, or revealed back to the greater mind. And so, yeah, I just can't wait to see everybody in person.
Yeah, me too. I think that'll be super fun.
Awesome. Well, Eileen, thank you for joining us from Jamaica. I'm gonna let you get on with your tropical breeze, maybe a Mai Tai or two or whatever.
Just the breeze,
just,
probably.
just the breeze, and
Yeah.
I really look forward to seeing and promoting the release of your album, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Topher. Great to hang out. I look forward to seeing you soon. And bye, everybody.
Bye bye, Eileen. Yay. Let's see here. So Eileen, I'm going to keep this going, and then I'm just going to give a few house cleaning things and go from there.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, I'll sign off and look forward to seeing you, Topher.
Okay. Bye bye, Eileen.
Okay. Bye.
So that was the great Eileen McKusick, everybody. Let me see here. I want to make sure. I'm just going to put up the Elementals Gathering website so you guys can see everything. It's Elementals Gathering. I always say this incorrectly. I'm such a bad salesman here. So let me figure out the OBS here. So we'll do this. Oops. So you guys should be able to see this. Let me make sure that you can see this. I keep clicking on the wrong thing here. Well, I didn't figure it out. I thought I could show you. So go to elementalsgathering.com. We're selling about 2 to 3 tickets a day. We got a good 70 people in there. Everybody started advertising this week within their own networks. So usually the big push is like the last month. We're about 2 months out, which is brilliant. Such good people coming. On the main page of our website, I don't think we put Chris Crutchfield in just yet. Maybe. Oh, we did. Okay, Chris Crutchfield's in. I just got to spend some really good time with Emily Moyer and her partner, Dr. Laura. And I have to tell you, I got incredible body work from Dr. Laura. I have been suffering from a hernia for about a year. And they diagnosed what the problem was like within like 10 minutes, like dink, dink, dink. And I was just, whoa. So I'm really excited that Dr. Laura will be giving body work for people. We have another wonderful body practitioner that will be there. We have like 4 really good food vendors that are coming. For those of you that are like vegetarian and vegan, we have that option also, along with our local people that are making like excellent, Amerimex food and burgers and like all the rest of it. Missouri in May is delightful. It doesn't get too hot, doesn't get too cold. The bugs haven't like set in, and so it's just a really wonderful place to be. If you come in and camping isn't your thing, there's hotels not more than like 20 minutes away from the campgrounds that aren't too far. We're going to set up like little ways in which people can carpool with each other onto the campground. If you've never experienced a festival that is free of alcohol, I have to tell you, I had never experienced that until Bertaria 4 years ago, and I thought I hated festivals. I was like, festivals suck. And what I didn't like about festivals was the fact that I was around such inebriated people all the time. It never felt right. And the Bertaria festivals have been so wonderful over the last few years, having space for the kids to play and not have to really worry about it and all that I wanted this festival to mirror that. So we'll be on the Bertaria Ozarks property. It's in Mountain Grove, Missouri. It's a really idyllic setting. It's very simple. We have a good AV person now. We'll be recording things depending on who's speaking and our agreement with them. And it's just going to be a great time. Chance Garton, who's in the chat, he's going to be our MC. I can't think of a better MC. Hopefully he wins the battle with Eileen McKusick, because it would suck if he got dematerialized and wasn't able to MC the entire thing. Maybe his subtle body could, somehow become luminescent and do it. But let's hope that he keeps his physical body during that. He is a new father, and his lovely wife, Jenny, I think would appreciate him staying alive. When and where is the gathering, Topher, by Neff Hunter? It is in Mountain Grove, Missouri. That's an hour and a half outside of Springfield. So if you're flying in, Springfield, Missouri is the vector. That's SGA, I believe. And we're an hour and a half from the airport. So it's not that bad at all. So the event has just such kick-ass people like Eileen, as you just saw, Owen Benjamin. We have Matt Presti. We have Steve Young. We have Dr. Andrew Kaufman. We have Dr. Moshe Daniel. We have Amy Hamilton. She is the founder of the Missouri Native Seed Association. She's just an incredible person. We have Dr. Marzel Arce. We have Chris Crutchfield, Emily Moyer, Brother Marty Leeds, Jorge Mesa, Adam Stevens, Chris Winters, Kyle Denton, Chance, as I already said, and Rebecca Steele Scott, and of course yours truly. And I'm very excited to be able to talk to everybody about the alchemical significance of biochar, of the Negretto phase of what I do. And we're going to have a few workshops. Kyle Denton's having a workshop. Chris Winters is having a workshop. I'm having a workshop. And Adam Stevens is having a workshop. So the four of us are our little quartet of workshops. If you attend, it's going to give you a really holistic way of like how to manage your property as we move forward. Today was an incredible day of media for me. I was on 4 different things. And, I might sound like a broken record, but I think it's very important these days to understand the importance of rooting your jurisdiction, of your mind, as Eileen would say, but like of your intent into your property. And we have a system by which to do that. So if any of you guys have any questions at all, you can go ahead and throw them in the chat. I had a purposely short eggs session tonight because I know Eileen's always quick and to the point, quick and dirty. So if anybody has any questions as we go through there, oh, I always forget to tell people, biochar, you can get biochar at blackgoldbiochar.com. The things are growing very nicely. If you guys end up listening to any of my media, like with Alec Zek or with Nephilim Death Squad or with JT Follows JC or any of those guys, if you could just like the pod that I do with them, that really helps me. My mission is to teach people as much as I can about being the bridge between land and sky, and really helping facilitate a healthy future for our kids. So that's the thrust of why I'm here. And I know it sounds like such a menial thing, but when you just do a little thumbs up or whatever on these different interviews, other people see that, people with much bigger venues, much whatever, and that allows me to get in front of bigger eyes. And it's always a numbers game with these types of things. I will always take quality over quantity. So I feel the people that have listened and do listen and all the rest of it, there's a qualitative aspect to that I'll always appreciate. But then it's always nice for other people to come through and like new eyes to hear this, as the great Chris Rock once said, if it ain't new, it's through. And so I need to get in front of new eyes here and there to keep things rolling. So we have Counter Saber Topher. Will you ever do a sponsorship affiliate program for other content creators to promote on their videos, etc.? Well, with Black Gold Biochar, I'm starting affiliate programming with them. I really haven't had a product to sell until 3 months ago. So with that product, we're selling, so that's good. I'm very good at seeing trends and things like that, but I can't say I'm trained in business or in real marketing. So hopefully, as things go, I'll get better and better at things. So I want to thank you guys for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. You can always check me out at, on Instagram. I'm at BioCharisma. The Telegram chat is awesome. You can go to the BioCharisma podcast chat on Telegram. We have a thriving community there, always sharing good stuff. And, go to our Elementals Gathering webpage and just check out these wonderful guest speakers, because each one of these people are beautiful, like Eileen tonight, and they're all offering so much to the world. And I just think that there's going to be like an incredible amount of energy with the people that are coming. I think it's going to be wonderful. So I want to thank you guys again. I look forward to seeing you next week. I believe we're going to have, I already forgot. I think we're having, who did I agree with today? I forgot. It's going to be another person.